In 1963, there were 417 nesting pairs of bald eagles left in the entire continental United States. Only 417. The national symbol of America, on its way to extinction. DDT was thinning their eggshells. Hunters were shooting them. Habitat was disappearing. The government stepped in. DDT was banned. The Bald Eagle Protection Act made it a federal crime to kill, harm, or even possess a bald eagle or any part of it. A feather, a talon, a single leg. The penalty? Up to 5 years in prison and $250,000 in fines per bird. 40 years of protection worked. By 2006, the bald eagle was removed from the endangered species list. By 2020, there are an estimated 316,700 bald eagles in the lower 48 states. One of the greatest wildlife recovery stories in American history. And then came the wind turbines. Today, across the United States, there are more than 70,000 wind turbines operating on American soil. Each one has blades spinning at the tips at speeds of up to 200 miles per hour. Each blade is longer than a Boeing 737's wingspan, and they are placed, by necessity, open landscape terrain where eagles hunt, soar, and migrate. Annual golden eagle deaths from wind turbines more than doubled from an estimated 110 in 2013 to 270 in 2024. Total bird deaths from wind turbine collisions are estimated at between 140,000 and 328,000 per year, including thousands of eagles, hawks, owls, and other raptors. And here's the part that changes everything. The federal government knows, and it made it legal in 2016. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service finalized what became known as the Eagle Take Rule, a regulation giving wind energy developers 30-year permits to legally kill bald and golden eagles, as long as they take some conservation measures to offset the deaths. The same government that made it a federal crime to possess a single eagle feather gave a private energy industry permission to kill eagles for 30 years. In writing, with permits, the Interior Department has acknowledged that unfortunately, multiple wind projects have chosen not to apply for eagle permits and face legal and financial consequences if they do self-report. As a result, eagle fatalities from wind projects are underreported, most likely by orders of magnitude. Underreported by orders of magnitude. Those are the government's own words. This is that story. To understand how you get from 417 nesting pairs on the brink of extinction to a federal permit to kill them, you need to understand what a wind turbine actually is. Physically, from an eagle's perspective, an eagle hunting over an open landscape is looking down. Its eyes, 8 times more powerful than human eyes, are scanning the ground for movement. A rabbit, a fish, a thermal current to ride. It is not looking sideways. It is not looking at the air in front of it at rotor height. It is not processing a 200-foot blade sweeping through its flight path at 200 miles per hour, because nothing in the evolutionary history of the eagle prepared it to process that. The blade hits the bird before the bird knows the blade exists. This is not a design flaw. This is not something that can be engineered away entirely. It is a collision between the physical requirements of generating wind energy, tall towers, long blades, high rotation speeds, open terrain, and the hunting behavior of a bird that evolved over millions of years in a world where nothing moved through the air that fast. Eagles are disproportionately vulnerable for a specific reason. They are large, slow-turning birds that ride thermals and hunt over the same open, elevated terrain where wind resources are strongest. Unlike smaller songbirds that can react quickly to obstacles, an eagle in a hunting glide is committed to its trajectory. By the time the blade enters its peripheral vision, it is already too late. Golden eagles are the most affected. Researchers are especially worried about the golden eagle population, which is estimated to be about 30,000 birds nationwide. Roughly 1/10 the bald eagle population. Wyoming, with its combination of prime golden eagle nesting habitat and some of the strongest wind resources in the country, sits at the center of the crisis. The same ridgelines where eagles have hunted for centuries are exactly where turbines generate the most power. In 2022, one of the largest wind energy operators in America was brought to federal court. ESI Energy, a subsidiary of NextEra Energy, the largest wind power producer in the United States, was prosecuted for ego deaths at its wind farms across 8 states. The company acknowledged that at least 150 bald and golden eagles had died at its facilities since 2012, and that 136 of those deaths were affirmatively determined to be attributable to the eagle being struck by a wind turbine blade. The deaths occurred across 50 of the 154 wind farms that the company operates in the United States. The company had operated for more than a decade without obtaining Eagle Take permits that exist specifically to provide legal cover for exactly these deaths. According to prosecutors, the company's failure to take steps to protect eagles or to obtain permits gave it an advantage over competitors that did take such steps. Cutting corners on eagle protection was a competitive advantage. It saved money. It was profitable. As he was sentenced to probation in order to pay more than $8 million in fines and restitution, ESI agreed to spend up to $27 million during its 5-year probationary period on measures to prevent future eagle deaths, including shutting down turbines at times when eagles are more likely to be present. Despite those measures, wildlife officials anticipated that some eagles would still die. When that happens, the company pays $29,623 per dead eagle under the agreement. $29,000 per eagle for the national bird of the United States, from a company valued at over $100 billion. Next era's president, responding to the charges, said that collisions of birds with wind turbines are unavoidable accidents that should not be criminalized. Unavoidable accidents. That is what the largest wind power company in America called the death of 150 protected eagles over 10 years of unpermitted operation. There are solutions. Partial ones. Imperfect ones. Being deployed too slowly and in too few places. Painting one wind turbine blade black so birds can see them better has been tested and shown to reduce bird strikes at some facilities. AI-powered identification technology, cameras that detect eagle flight patterns, and automatically stop turbines when birds are nearby, is being deployed at newer projects. Companies are also retrofitting power poles near wind farms to reduce electrocution risk and creating habitat improvements to offset losses. These technologies work. At the smaller wind farm in Norway, painting one blade black reduced bird fatalities by 70% over 4 years. The cost of painting one blade, minimal. The reason it is not mandatory at every wind farm in the United States, it reduces energy output slightly during the painting process, and the industry has successfully resisted mandatory requirements. The AI detection and shutdown systems, which can identify an approaching raptor and halt the turbine before impact, are more expensive, but have shown effectiveness rates above 80% in tested deployments. They are voluntary. No federal regulation requires their installation. Here is the honest version of this story, because this is not a simple story, and it deserves not to be told simply. Wind turbines kill eagles. That is confirmed, documented, and not seriously disputed by anyone who has reviewed the evidence. The number is growing as the industry grows. If the current rate of growth of the wind energy industry continues, it could have serious conservation implications for golden eagle and other raptor populations. And wind turbines also prevent deaths, not of eagles, of humans, of ecosystems, of the climate stability that every eagle and every other wild creature on Earth depends on. Coal plants kill birds too, through acid rain, through habitat destruction, through the climate change that is already altering migration patterns, shrinking ranges, and pushing species toward extinction at a rate that dwarfs what turbines are doing today. Cats kill an estimated 2.4 billion birds annually in the United States. Building collisions kill hundreds of millions more. Power lines kill eagles at rates comparable to or exceeding turbines. The people who say wind turbines are killing eagles are telling the truth. The people who say wind turbines are being used as a political weapon to stop clean energy are also telling the truth. Both of those things are simultaneously uncomfortably true. Brian Bedrajan, Conservation Director at the Teton Raptor Center. Put it plainly, eagles are often the species that get weaponized in that conversation, but it detracts from the real conservation needs that the species has. And really all of our birds have. In North America right now, with declines that we're seeing across all bird species, the eagle deaths are real. They matter, and they are also being used by people who have no interest in eagle conservation and every interest in stopping clean energy as a reason to do nothing. The question that the evidence actually demands is not whether wind turbines should exist. It is why, in 2025, painting one blade black and installing AI detection systems are still voluntary, when the data shows they work and the cost of not using them is measured in dead protected birds. America spent 40 years pulling the bald eagle back from the edge of extinction. It was one of the most successful conservation programs in the history of wildlife management. It worked because the rules were clear. The enforcement was real, and the penalty for killing an eagle was severe enough to make companies think twice. Then the wind industry arrived, and the same government that made it a crime to own an eagle feather issued 30-year permits to kill eagles at scale. And the largest wind company in America operated for a decade without even getting those permits, because the financial penalty for getting caught was less than the cost of compliance. As the American Eagle Foundation put it, alternative energy is not green if it is killing hundreds or thousands of birds annually. Our wildlife should not be collateral damage in our effort to combat climate change. That sentence is not an argument against wind energy. It is an argument for doing wind energy right, for mandatory blade painting, for mandatory AI detection systems, for real-time eagle mortality reporting that is public and independently verified, for wind farms sited away from known eagle migration corridors and nesting territories, for a regulatory framework that takes the protection of a protected species seriously rather than issuing 30-year kill permits and calling it conservation. The technology exists. The will to require, it does not. And somewhere in Wyoming tonight, a golden eagle is riding a thermal over a ridgeline that has been its hunting ground for years. Below it, a turbine blade completes its rotation. If this story made you see the wind energy debate differently, if it showed you something more complicated than the version you were given by either side, share it. Because the eagle does not care about the politics. And right now, in America, flying over certain ridgelines in Wyoming is more dangerous for a golden eagle than it has been since 1963. That is a problem we know how to solve. The question is whether we choose to. Tell us in the comments, should AI detection systems and blade painting be mandatory at every wind farm in the country? Subscribe, because the true stories are always more complicated than the headlines.